All right, so today's topic, I'll make sure I get this right. It's going to be learning versus training.
I was going to ask you, so this one was one of the things that came out of the book that we're reading, Turn the Ship Around.
Yes.
What was it about this one that really, you were like, that we should definitely focus on?
So, we always talk about how we need to get our team to do certain things.
Mm-hmm.
And along the line of pushing versus pulling, right? We talk about how we want teams to be empowered to do certain things. And in order to do certain things, they should have the skills to do it.
Right.
So it got me, as I read through the book on that one specific topic I was talking about, was how they had gone through all this training, but yet there was no learning.
Yeah.
So the training is of where somebody do something, right? They present a topic. It could be you know somebody go through a course, and we talk about certification, for example.
Yeah.
I think it's a 2-day CSM, Certified Scrum Master certification.
Mm-hmm.
And the book talk about training. I think CSM for 2 days it's a training, right? It's a buy the book, here's how it's done. You listen for these 2 days, you may do some exercise. The hope is that you walk away with something.
Yeah.
And to me, it hits me as can we increase learning? How do we get people to learn? And sometimes we make mistakes over and over not learning. We say it's okay to fail, but it's not okay that you're not learning.
Mm-hmm.
Right? So you gotta learn to get better at what you do. So that hit me when I saw those things. It's like training isn't the same thing as learning.
I would tend to agree with that based on the book. And by the book that we're reading is Turn the Ship Around by David Marquette, just in case we could put that on there.
Yeah.
But, so I read the chapter a long time ago, and I reread it today, and I do really agree. I mean, how many times have we, even myself, when I first started the journey of becoming a Scrum Master and now coach, is going to a training session. When I went to a conference, and I just sat, and we got trained.
Right.
Train is one of the things that he emphasizes is very passive. Right. I just sit there, I listen, I write some notes down, and then I go. Whereas learning, and I consider this learning on the field, so Scrum Master with teams, with coaching, doing whatever he or she's got to do. There's a difference in training. It's more active. It's like you have to make decisions. You will make mistakes. You have a choice to figure things out or learn. It's more active. You have to be involved with it. Whereas sitting and I think some trainers try to encourage learning through activities and games, but I really don't know if there's a lot you can consume or that you can really take on actively in that 2-day span. It's only 8 hours, 16 hours that you're actually doing it. As opposed to, say, for example, a coach, an agile coach, who's working with teams on a daily basis and constantly having to figure things out that you don't get in like a training manual or at a training session. Maybe the best thing is that a training prepares you, but it doesn't necessarily guarantee that you can do it.
So a part of learning is as we're doing research on how to increase learning, how do we get more out of the training, for example. One of the things I stumbled upon is it said that it is repetitive. You have to repeat certain things a couple of times in short bursts, which is very interesting. So in short, you don't want to go, for example, you cram for 5-6 hours for your exam tomorrow morning. You don't want to do a cramming all at night, the night before, because what happens is that you're learning at that point in time, but that amount, because it's so much in that 5 hours, all you're doing is just getting ready for exam. By tomorrow, you go to the exam, you walk out, and everything's gone.
Yeah.
You didn't learn anything. right?
You just crammed all the information for a short span.
Right, and you put it on a piece of paper and you're done.
Yeah.
Whereas learning has a more effect, with more lasting effect. So that got me thinking is, and I started reading his way. It says it's interesting that they're doing short, iterative bursts.
Yeah.
Right, and this has nothing to do with software development, but they're talking about an individual how we learn.
It's almost like sports, and I'm actually going to take it away from sports. When I got into like going to the range and learning how to shoot, one of the things that the instructor said was, "You're going to suck at the very beginning of it, but you've got it." It takes something. He goes, "It takes 1,000 times or more, something like that, of doing the same action of lowering, make sure you got the right grip, looking through the sight,
right.
Breathe, don't jerk, pull the trigger slightly." Like those things, very small things, doing it that many times, it builds like muscle memory. And your brain is like, your brain is a muscle.
Right. So
you got to exercise it.
So if you keep repeating something, now, does it, and we talked about that in that instance, it almost enforces your learning because your muscle memory kicks in after that, right?
Yeah.
So if you're not conscious about it, I could be shooting for years and years and still suck at it because I'm not learning anything. I could be making the exact same mistake over and over and over again and not learning anything.
Right. So it's the act of, kind of like what he was saying, we learn or actively learn. For example, sticking with the target practice.
Right.
I put a round down range at 10 yards. I shoot, put my gun down, look at it, and I see instant feedback. If I got a bullseye, great. Whatever I did, I'm going to continue to do it. 9 times out of 10, I don't have a bullseye. Oh, it pulled over to the left. Okay, so I know that means that I'm jerking the trigger. Okay, I need to be a little bit more smoother. I need to breathe. I need to let it catch me by surprise. Right. So you look for the feedback, and then if you don't take that feedback and you don't say, okay, I need to change something, then yeah, you're putting rounds down range for no good reason. You're not learning anything.
So this is almost the same as the marshmallow challenge, right?
Yeah.
Short term, I need to put something on the marshmallow. I need to put it and see if it stands.
Yeah.
If it does, then it's gonna work because I learned that it will hold, or I learned that it will fail. Then I need to adjust from it. Right? In that moment of learning, that works. It's interesting. So
I've got a loaded question, and we may not be able to answer it on this one. So for the folks in the field that we're in, so we do Scrum, and there's folks who out there that want to get into becoming a Scrum Master. This is something that we struggle with, telling people what to do. If they can't get a position as a Scrum Master, and the only thing that they have available to them is, I can only get my certification, I can write books, I can watch webinars. How do they learn? Because the industry is creating this thing where it's like, we want Scrum Masters, we want experienced Scrum Masters, but we don't have a lot of us out there. We've got a lot of green folks who don't know a lot of it, who just got the certification, but they're not giving them a chance. How are we supposed to learn? It's a vicious cycle.
So I would say that it is really, really hard if you need to have that hands-on to be able to learn. Because you can read all day long, you can read theory all day long. Until you put it into practical, I don't think you can. And that's the part that I hate about where the market is today, is that they want people with experience, but yet they're not willing to let people do it to get this experience, right?
Yeah.
I think it's very, very hard to do that.
Is there anything that, if we were to give advice to a Scrum Master who's an aspiring Scrum Master, who doesn't have the opportunity to learn on the job, like they don't have an opportunity, but what can they do to get that knowledge, to kind of build that confidence and get those lessons?
So you need to be hands-on. You need to be able to do something with it. So I don't know. I really don't know on this one.
Again, I started off with it's a loaded one because it's something that somebody might post on the comments and say like, oh yeah, they could do that. But I mean, I've been fortunate enough where I've had the opportunity to learn while being in a spot. through mistakes and lots of failures that I've had along the way.
And I'm the same way, right? I'm just, here's a position, you take it, you can go do this, right? So there's an opportunity to go, do, learn, fail, and do better at it. And it's an opportunity to just drop on my lap.
Yeah.
So for those that are seeking it, how do they do that? And that's something that we have done is I try to allow people to do a shadow process, and not many companies allow people to do that. I know we've done that. How successful I am not sure. I've got a couple people. We've had a couple people that came through that did that before, in the hopes that they'll get some glimpse into the things that they challenges.
Yeah.
Maybe that's an encouragement to the community to that. One way to let people do that is to shadow. I've had a conversation with a recruiter, and he was talking about the challenges that they had was that there's all these positions that requires experience, but then all these people that have no experience and you can't connect the dot. And at that point he was proposing an intern come in as a scrum master, as an intern as a scrum master to do that. Kind of like an intern to do, software development and things like that. Mm-hmm. That could be one way.
I think getting people the hands-on experience, however it can be done.
Yeah.
That's the challenge I'll be open and transparent. What frustrates me, I'm probably gonna put something controversial out there, is I think that there's, and I don't think there's enough practice. This is actually something that talked about with other coaches and scrum masters who are deep in the trenches, that they'll go to a training session or they'll go to a conference and almost feel like people are presenting are a little bit out of touch with theory, a lot of training. And I think people are out there to, hey, tell me about the real in the trenches experiences, with an attempt to kind of learn from that. Like, theory is great, but I can't practice theory when I get back into the job that I'm. What can you tell me that I can learn? Whether it be all about exercises that mimic real world situations, put people in that kind of case, which I don't know. That's the one thing that I struggle with today, and sometimes I'll get caught up in talking theory, but I do know that it doesn't benefit the folks who are trying to learn, or not trying to learn, but are trying to get into the industry, that all they've got is theory, and it's like that doesn't give them the experience that they need. Folks want experience, and need more people with experience out there.
So change the subject a little bit, not too hard, just give it a little bit here is one of the things that ran into is that oftentimes we see that we don't have time to learn. But we're too busy, we're too caught up with everything that's going on. We don't have time to learn, so we pick and choose. We say, okay, well, I'm not going to learn anything from this. And without even experiencing it firsthand, right off the bat, say, well, I'm not going to learn from this. And say, well, I'm not going to do it. An example will be a certification. Well, I've been doing this for 2 years now as a coach, and I'm not certified. You know what? Certification is not for me. It's just bullshit. I still think there is some component of it where I think when we walk in, there is some things that we will learn that was like aha moment that we does not see. I think that's important, is having that time, the extra buffer almost. Right? To say, okay, that's the time that I'm not going to turn around, that I know I need those buffer times so I can learn. Even for our teams, for developers working, I think we can't plan 100% of capacity for them. In order for them to innovate, that innovation comes from learning. Right? So I think part of that is really give them the time.
Even so, on that, like developers and having the time for it. So sending a developer or an engineer to a development conference, great. If they don't have time when they come back, this is actually a classic problem. They come back, they start doing work, and everything that they learned over there, they can't. They don't get a chance to experiment with it, to actually get their hands dirty, and make a prototype, screw something up totally, break stuff, do figure out what it is that you picked up at this conference and actually do active learning by coding or using it or implementing it. That's the key thing is, how do you make the time for that? How do you give them the opportunity? Do they do like we do with chapters and getting together with groups and experimenting, get a group together and like block out an hour and we're going to code in this new, Angular 2 or whatever is out there.
So one thing that we do is that we have lunch and learns, right?
Yeah.
So if certain people that went to conferences, they come back and they do a presentation back to the group. Does that work?
No, because that's just training.
Right, that's just training, right? We're just putting up. I think the person that learned is probably the person that's presenting.
Yeah, because they're going to go through. Yes, because they have to learn the material enough to be able to pass it on.
Right.
But the folks that are consuming it, all they're doing is consuming it. It's on them whether to take that and be like, oh, I want to go work on this on my next story or project or whatever it is, or I'm going to take this home and I'm going to, play around with it, see what it is.
Right.
So, yeah, the person coming back, presenting it, yes, I agree. They have to learn it because they have to teach it. They have to answer questions on it. But it's on the person who's consuming it at that point. Are you going to take this further, or are you just going to consume it and then put it over the side?
I think the timing, as you talk about the timing, as what you learn, is that you have to actually use it. If you don't use it right away, you lose it.
Yeah.
Almost, and I probably have been multiple occasions where I went to conferences and you pick up some stuff and you tell me you don't practice it, and then you lose it. Mm-hmm. And then after a while, it came back to, I remember this. I should have done this, right?
I have a story about that. Now that you retrace something with that in my memory, my long ago memory of the day when I was it was at the same Agile conference I went to in 2013, and I just happened to take a test-driven development session.
Right.
And I had been to many sessions where they talked about it, and I've read about it, and I've seen webinars, like, oh, it's great, this, that, or the other. And I was like, oh, let me go see what this is all about. Well, I forgot what the gentleman's name was. He spent 5 minutes talking about what TDD was, explained the concepts and all that, and he said, okay, well, you brought your laptops. Everybody pair up, crack open your laptops, here's a problem. And it was like a password encryption thing. And what we did was, for the next hour, we actually we built a test-driven application that tested the strength of our passwords and such. But we actually got to get our hands dirty with it and figure it out and play with it and screw up. And me, who had not been coding in over a year at that time, really was like, oh wow, I could see the real benefit. Other than just going and teaching somebody about, like telling somebody about this, like I'm actually seeing the benefit of what this is. And the guy who was sitting with me was paired up with me. He was like, this is great. I'm used to just going in there, code. I don't even think about tests.
Right.
But now I'm building my template for what needs to happen, and I just code to that. It's like, that's great.
And then I think the from the developer's perspective, I think you have to do, right? And I'm kind of like you, where I can go pick up a book, I can read about it, but until I actually write the code out and do the things that I need to do, is till then they say, okay, that's when the learning for me the most, where I know how to do this until I tested it.
Yeah.
So you have to test something to see if it works. That feedback then gives me the learning. Say, I've learned from this. That this is how you do it.
Another thing along those lines of doing, taking it back to our realm of Scrum and kicking off Scrum teams. But one of the things that we started to do last year, which was the Lego simulation that we got from Paul Smith, we train the teams that are starting. We tell them about, this is the framework, these are the ceremonies, this is what you're doing, this is what you're supposed to do. And I think that for teams, great. And then they get into the actual ceremonies when they're talking about real work, and they just fall. What am I supposed to do? What's going on?
Yep.
But by introducing that exercise of, we're going to do a Lego Scrum simulation for an hour or two, and we're going to go through each of the ceremonies, and you're going to do each of the ceremonies. And you're going to get to experience it and learn from it and figure out what the pitfalls are before you're actually doing work, and you can have that conversation. So that, as you were explaining that, I was like, wow, that's actually something that we do in the Scrum world that helps teams, that I, for a fact, has helped teams kind of not get caught up.
That's why I like using games a lot, because of that, is that we can stand in front, provide slides and everything like that. It doesn't connect. To me, games allow us to be the hands-on, that all our sensory is now open and trying different things. So it could be sound, it could be, you know, the motion, action, and that gives that full flavor of learning in my mind. You have to have all of that to come to play. And sometimes you don't. Sometimes you get all of it and you walk away with nothing. But you're hoping that one thing that clicks that they remember with.
Yeah.
So I think that's learning and training.
Yeah. So to wrap up, learning is actively doing it, making mistakes and getting your hands dirty. Training would be going to an event, being a consumer, consuming information.
Right.
And then learning is what you do with it after.
To try it. To me, it's one is pushing content. The pushing to me, so I'm consuming it, right?
Yeah.
Versus me learning is me absorbing it, now go grabbing it. So to me, that's a push and the pull come to me where I'm now pulling because I'm learning.
More active.
It's more active.
It's not passive. Passive, I'm just sitting there.
All right. So I think that's a good wrap.
I think we could turn this into something.
Think so?
Yeah, there was some good breaks.
Okay. All right. Folks, if you are joining us, we want this to be as interactive as we can. Don't be passive with it. Get on there, click like, click you don't like, provide us comments.
Okay. Feedback. Feedback's the way that we're going to learn, that we could get a conversation going. You know that there's some folks watching it. Just give us a post. Give us a one-word answer like awesome, sucks. That's cool. We'll figure out what to do next time. So.
Also, it'd be nice if you find that the length is too long, let us know. We'll be taking back some ideas of cutting into multiple segments. Not sure if that is good or bad, but we do love to hear from you guys. Alright, so this is Message and Call.
I don't know anymore.
That is Charles from Regress, signing off.
Take care, y'all.